goes. Okay, hello everyone. We're back on 1+1, your place for inconvenient truth telling and myth busting. This is part two in our final part two of my conversation with Diallo Kenyatta of Black Power Media, co-host of Earn Your Liberation, and the Rational Bros, and his own program, Bro Diallo. And okay, so Diallo, so we were talking before we got cut off. So you were saying, at least in Chicago locally, a lot of the black a lot of the racial justice groups, social justice groups, they are focusing a lot on different ways of eliminating the police and striving for racial justice and liberation. But when it comes to the issue of imperialism and talking about abolishing the CIA, the NSA, and whatnot, they're not too focused on that. But which is where Black Alliance for Peace and the Black is Back Coalition and similar groups like that fill that void, right?
Yeah, I think by and large, I don't know any engaged, conscious Black person that isn't aware of the imperialist machinations or the how the federal government contributes. More so when they speak to the feds, they speak to how the feds prioritizes and funds and directs much of the atrocities, and they also understand the power that the federal government has in terms of oversight and mitigating some of the atrocities of local policing. So they are well aware of it. But like I said, I think that just for the sake of being practical and effective in their efforts, I just think in making the most out of the resources and the manpower that they have. I don't know of many nations where that overlaps.
Okay. But yeah, and as I mentioned, before we got cut off, this is where BAP, Black Alliance for Peace, similar groups in the Black is Back Coalition. I was saying, well, this is where they need to step their game up. And
Right.
Of course, we're joking. Well, unless George Soros is going to shower them with money, but anywho. I don't know if we have enough time to talk about this, but let's get into this before we get into before we close. You have spoken out a lot on the dominant role of Black Christian churches and other theological groups like the Nation of Islam. And I actually, to a degree, I actually find myself in agreement with you a lot in your criticisms of both of the of organized religion in our communities. And do you think so that said, do you think from America to even the continents of Africa and elsewhere, where there are Christian churches, mosques and so forth, and even indigenous African, beliefs. Do you think that a lot of those groups have actually kneecapped our Black Power and our broader people power movement? And if the answer is yes, do you think that that it's long overdue that we have a Black atheist movement, a Black militant atheist movement, which which can advance the kind of Black Leftism that you and we would like to see advanced in our communities. And then just before you answer that, I remember one of my favorite interviews of the late Glenn Ford of Black Agenda Report. He was doing an interview with Paul J of the Real News, and he was talking about how one of his first jobs he got working at James Brown's radio, working for a radio outlet that James Brown owned. And the person said, okay, whenever the news breaks, these are the people you should contact. And then Glenn Ford said that it was Bishop this, and it was Father this, and Reverend this, and he said that he took the paper threw it in the bin, and then Paul Shea asks him, why? Why did that produce a reaction? He was, and then Glenn said that because all of these, Christian, all of these churches, the black churches, they get a lot of credit for the civil rights movement, but actually a lot of them kneecapped our movement. A lot of them wouldn't allow Martin Luther King Jr. to visit such and such a place because they didn't want any trouble. So he was saying, he was, fed up of giving voices to these accommodationist churches. And I've even interviewed, Eugene McCartan, formerly, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Ireland, and he was saying that in Ireland it was also a very similar thing where a lot of the Catholic churches, even though they are indigenous to Ireland, he was saying that a lot of them also kneecapped a lot of leftism, kneecapped a lot of radicalism for either a united Ireland or certainly for a socialist Republic of Ireland. So yeah, so do you think, so all that being said, do you think it's long overdue that our people, whether it's in the United States or whether it's in Africa and elsewhere, kind of, push aside, the black churches or the Nation of Islam or the mosques and whatnots? I'm curious. Yeah, curious your response.
I agree that theocratic leadership, religious and theological leaders and leadership, and Black people's adherence to and following of colonial, slave, and alien theologies and belief systems are a product of our oppression and work to perpetuate our oppression. So I agree. Yes, they have kneecapped it, and we're still in that exact same situations. Not just religions, but also cults. Cults and religions have gone so far as to stifle not just our what we can conceptualize and fight for. They really hamper and destroy our capacity to think, our intellect, as well as going so far as cults have been directed or been mobilized to even murder our leaders. One of my favorite sayings is cults don't cultivate. So, yeah, but I don't agree that we should have an atheist movement. I would not support or be a part of an atheist movement. Even though I am an atheist, I'm an anti-theist. I seek to diminish the impact and control and power that religions and cults have over my community and the world. But I think that our movements should be secular. I agree with Malcolm X in his life, in his conclusions before his cult attacked and neutralized him. I agree with Malcolm X and even Khalid Muhammad, who also came out of the same cult, that we have to be secular, leave your religion at home. I believe that we can still work and coordinate and cooperate. I know some Christian revolutionaries. I know some Muslim revolutionaries who are willing to make positive and just contributions to our struggles. So I don't think that we have to eliminate or isolate or reject those people of faith, but people of faith do have to subdue their faith when it comes to the political, the cultural, the social work. If you want to worship in your own time, in your own way. But when it comes to governance, organizing, and struggle, it has to be available and accessible to all. And if you cannot reconcile that, then I do think you are more of a liability to our struggles than an asset, even if you are a committed person. And most of the good people I know who are Christians, they tend to be bad at their religion. And they tend to cherry pick and select components of their religion that they'll follow. And even though people say that's not real, I tend to encourage that. Leave the most reactionary and regressive components of your faith, your holy books, or your belief system out, and just handpick the good parts.
Yeah,
That's what I encourage. But I don't encourage atheist struggle. I encourage secular struggle, which is a stark difference.
Yeah, I mean, one follow up I would say to that is, if even when we look at the continent of Africa, in which I know, Fela Kuti, who was, who was a very strong, Pan-Africanist, probably the most radical of those from the continent who used his music, to speak out on various, injustices that, that plague not just his country but even the entire continent. And he was all and but what was interesting about him was that he was also very critical of the imported religions of Christianity and Islam on the continent, and a lot of the, negative reactionary contributions it
Mhm.
made in, in the fight of the liberation of Africa and so forth. But even, a lot of the, religions, or what they call, the tribes which are indigenous to to Africa, I just think it's such a pity that you have so many, that they have so many people across the continent who either slaughter one another, or don't get, or don't even realize that, the enemy is not, your neighbor next door. It's, it's pan white supremacy of, Europe and Turtle Island that's, that's dominating us. So, curious, your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, I
And it's also,
have.
it's also a similar thing, when we talk about, the Middle East, and pan Middle Easternism, why it's been, it's had such a, why it's been unable to advance, is because of a lot of the, tribalism and sectarianism that exists even amongst us.
I don't think it's the tribalism and sectarianism is their problem. I really don't think that. I think that they like to point to that, but I don't think the problem in the Middle East or Africa is tribalism. I think tribalism can be problematic, but that's not the source of the problem. You know.
But the
Uh,
source of the problem is the Western imperialism,
yeah.
which easily exploits that. And of
Right.
course, that's where the whole, divide and conquer,
Right.
routine comes in.
Right.
Uh,
But
yeah.
I think that indigenous African religions should be subjected to the same level of scrutiny as alien colonial religions, though. Um, I don't give African belief systems, the Kemetic tree of life and or Dogon. I don't give that any more credibility than the alien beliefs, than Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. I think that we should look at all faith systems, myths, folklores, rituals. I think we should look at them all and evaluate them all in terms of, are they actually beneficial? First of all, are they valid? Are they based on evidence or anything that can be confirmed or tested or demonstrated? After that, even if they fail that test, which they all do, uh, we should be able to scrutinize whether or not these systems actually fulfill any real world purpose or benefits to the communities that they have captured or to the individuals that adhere to these systems.
And then
Because I've actually been to rituals where priests or the Babalaos have evoked ancestors or evoked the Shango or other Orishas. I've been to Haitian Vodun rituals. I've been to Kemetic tree of life instructions and all these spiritual African spirituals, and many of them are just as exploitative, taking up enormous amount of time and resources from individuals while giving little of substance to those followers besides some distraction and emotional stimulation. So again, I can't bring myself, or in Rastafarianism as well, I can't give a pass to indigenous or Black militant religious cults or belief systems any more than I do to the oppressors' delusional religions and theocracies
and
or
I
theology.
and I find myself largely, in agreement with you on that. But then, a very quick follow up is, why, is why don't you endorse a black militant atheist movement? you prefer and yeah and yeah, talk about that, why you advocate, as you mentioned, secularism as opposed to some
Because
black
atheist is
entity.
nothing to rally around. Atheism is not a binder, because atheism is a simple conclusion that there is no God. Atheism is acceptance that the evidence does not support belief in God. That's not enough to rally around. That's not enough to sustain unity, to sustain a struggle. So we've reached that conclusion. It's a reasonable conclusion. It's a rational conclusion, but it's not really my identity. So we have to rally around values that can strengthen us. You know, our values is that the resources of the world should be justly distributed amongst the people. Our values is coordination, cooperation, mutual support, mutual benefit. Our value is anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, justice. Our value is, anti-sexism and homophobia and things of that nature. So those things you can build a movement around and even construct your identity around. But simply, we've got atheist fascists. There are atheist racists. You know, there are secular and atheist people all over. So simply trying to say, well, I'm an atheist, that doesn't endear me to somebody. You
In
know,
fact,
the only thing I can conclude about an atheist is that they've accepted a rational conclusion about this one particular thing. But am I going to trust them? Why should I trust you? Or I know you have the capacity to think critically. I know you have the capacity to accept or reject something based on the presence or lack of evidence. But that doesn't tell me anything about whether your loyalty or anything. So I don't think that I've been approached by a couple of atheist groups and atheist organizations, but I'm like, that's not a strong enough position. Now, if there did come a time where there was persecution of atheists, or if you lived in a country like a theocratic country where there was persecution of atheism, then I think you should rally around your atheism to fight. And that can be a platform for which to fight. But I think that atheism is a good platform to educate, to reach out, to explain phenomenon, to advocate for the understanding of astronomy, and the advocate for the acceptance and science of evolution and things of that nature. So it is a good platform for teaching and educating, but it's not an adequate platform to rally around for revolution or liberation.
so for you, a kind of a sort of a new black secularism, and a version of that which which can happen in the Middle East / West Asia and other and or in other parts of the world. So in other words, your Pan-Africanism, the Pan-Africanism you envision, and I think I'm actually kind of on board with it. The secularism is sort of chewing gum and walking at the same time, of respecting the indigenous religions of such and such a place, the whatever Christian school of thought or Islamic school of thought, but it's respecting that, but it's also not being a liberal bigot and just saying to everyone, we're all Africans, or we're all one of this world, we're all one of this region. It can be to and that we all just need to unite and and eradicate the system of capitalism, patriarchy, heteronormativity, imperialism, and settler colonialism, and so forth and so forth.
Right. Yeah. I think that yeah, you pretty much summed it up. I'm not sure if there was a question in there, but yeah,
Okay.
um I agree. But I don't even need to have black secularism, just secularism. Secularism is basically saying that you can't come in and say, well, God said this, we're going to do with the Lord, or we're going to depend on our ancestors. Secularism simply says that if you want to advocate for a position within an organization or even in the greater society, you have to have a rational, evidence-based argument, and our movement and struggles and what we stand for and what we stand against has to be rooted in analysis. What can be known, what can be demonstrated, what can be duplicated, and as opposed to what came into your heart. You can't say, well, somehow higher power has picked me as the leader, or some supernatural force is going to act or intervene on our behalf. Now you can come and say, well, my spirit or my Lord has told me to come and fight on behalf of the people. That's fine if that's what you believe for yourself. If your motivation for being here is because, or your morality is rooted in the fact that you think that after your body dies and decomposes, you're going to face judgment, and that's why you're here. That can be your personal motivation, your personal drive, your personal view. But when you're here, whatever brought you here, once you're here, our actions are rooted in evidence, analysis, reason, not from any supernatural force. But if we're going to go out and do some work, and if we got to dig a trench or whatever the labor is, if you're going to pray before you dig the trench, if you need to give an offering to Oshun before you dig the trench, or if I simply, try to get the proper gloves and use the proper binding mechanics before I use the trench, whatever we need to do to get the trench done, we can do it. And if you want to say, after we win some victories, if you want to celebrate by saying a prayer or give thanks to the Most High, or if you want to celebrate by watching the football game with a can of beer, it's all good. That within a liberation struggle, there is freedom within the struggle. Even as we struggle against oppression, our movements must allow for a certain amount of freedom and autonomy amongst our people. So we are against the oppressive theocracy, but a lot of times our movements that claim to be against oppression, because the way they're structured, they start demanding uniformity and capitulation that's not necessary. So throughout my time, I've worked with people of religious faith and various religious outlooks, but I've always, whether it's in an organization I'm just a rank and file member of, I've always stood against any type of theocratic overreach or religious encroachment, even though at the same time that in there. And when I go, like when people listen to the Bro Diallo broadcast or listen to me on Earn Your Liberation or the Rational Radicals, they'll see me talk mad greasy about religion. I will speak freely when it's appropriate, but I don't run up in people's mosque. I don't run up in people's tabernacle. I don't go up in people's houses flipping over their shrines. I don't go over there messing with people and snatching down people's dream catchers or whatever their shit. I respect people in their space, but in an open forum where it is appropriate to talk, I'll talk. And in a time where it's time to put that down, I still have issues a lot of times when I'm in, let's open with a prayer and that kind of shit. And I don't flip over tables, but if given the opportunity, I will speak to that. Like, yo, why are we opening this shit with a prayer? Say your prayers before in the parking lot, before you get in here. So there's a lot of work to be done. I support secularism. I don't think that atheism is worthy to be a cornerstone. I think atheists, we need to be willing to advocate and push for secularism, but we don't have to impose atheism to get the work done.
Exactly. And the new and I'll just say a quick thing that like the new atheist movement has its own baggage with Christopher Hitchens, who supported the Iraq War.
Yeah, scumbag, and what's that other scumbag, Sam Harris, racist motherfucker.
Bill Maher, who claims he's against
another scumbag,
but doesn't have a bad word to say about ultra Zionist
right.
Jewish supremacist state of Israel.
Exactly.
Sam Harris, who hasn't at all spoken out about what's going on with the pogroms in India against like Muslims, doesn't speak out against the persecution of Muslims, in
because they're racist. These white boys are racist. Atheism did not humanize them. Atheism did not radicalize them. Again, I don't give you credit for being an atheist. I will give you get credit for saying, hey, you reached the right conclusion on that position. That one position, you are on the right side of that one issue. But moving on. So yeah, I don't feel that I've yet to find any type of atheist organization. I was part of a couple of, I ain't gonna lie, I was a part of a couple of atheist groups, but they were lame as hell.
So and these are mostly like and these are mostly like black groups
Yeah,
or
black. I was part of two separate black atheist groups at years ago. This is years ago, and like I said, the food is terrible. I'm like, y'all gonna send people running back to the mosque, you know? Y'all ain't got. I mean, the fried chicken and falafel. Hey, what's the good atheist food? And I know it's culture. Yeah, I know. I got some people that's probably gonna get on here. That's not. But all I'm saying is, we ain't got no good hymns. We ain't got no good music. I mean, reggae music, because I go listen. I want to eat some vegan Christian soul food, some fried tofu. I want some mashed potatoes. I love, when I go to Kansas City, I go to Jerusalem Cafe, this Palestinian owned, and I just can't think of. We got to come with more, you know. We got to come with more if we want to get people to rally around atheism.
So you're saying the black atheists, they don't know how to make good food like the religious folks, but don't you want your but you're vegan, so of course you're vegan, so okay, so I can't ask, well, what about the ham on the eggs and stuff like that? You're vegan, so you don't even like
That's gross. That's
That
disgusting. But listen, I was in the black atheist group. And they were like, and I went to this one black atheist group, and I was bringing up issues around oppression and liberation. And they were like, we're here to talk about atheism. I'm like, we could do that in the first minute. Is God real? No. Is there evidence of God? No. Therefore, are we obligated to acknowledge anyone else's delusions about the hereafter or the supernatural? No. That's it. And I'm like, how are we going to meet weekly or go out and organize events based on a simple conclusion? And it's like you go to the anti-tooth fairy meeting. And I'm like, even if we're going to talk about, sit here and pat ourselves on the back, the fact that we don't suffer from a delusion that the majority does, and we can't even really talk about how to subvert that delusion or challenge that delusion or weaken that delusion, just sitting here feeling superior. That's why I have a lot of issues with joining with vegan groups. I've been a vegan for like, goddamn, 30 fucking years. Like, yeah, I'd rather join organizations that are working towards something besides just making a right decision about a very particular thing.
Fantastic response. Wow. I don't want to keep. I don't want to. I don't want to keep you too much longer, because you've been very, very generous of your time. But we end the program with the questionnaire. The questionnaire that was done by Marcel Proust, later the French broadcaster Bernard Pivot, and later my hero James Lipton of Inside the Actors Studio. Diallo Kenyatta, it's your turn to do this before I let you enjoy your Thursday evening. So Mr. Kenyatta, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Oh yeah, what is your favorite word?
Word?
Yeah, words. Favorite word.
This combination or just one word?
Yeah, one word, or even or a combination. Favorite words.
I'd say it probably fuck.
Actually, I'll have you know that's actually my favorite word, so no problem.
Yeah, I mean that's a word like fuck in so many things. The action, the thought, the indignation, fuck.
It is a great word. It is a great word. It's a pity it's one of the 7 dirty words,
like
but
the Swiss Army of words, the Swiss Army knife of words.
Exactly.
You could do so much with it.
What is your least favorite word?
God.
That's the atheism coming out of you. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically?
What turns me on?
Yeah. Spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, yeah.
My wife?
Great. Oh, great answer. Great answer. Then what turns you off then?
Anti-intellectualism.
Oh, great response. I completely agree with you on that.
It annoys the shit out of me.
Then Then yeah, what sound or noise? Oh yeah, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound.
Yeah, what sound or noise do you love?
Well, I love hip hop, old school hip hop. But does that qualify, or you just need like
Yes.
a
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. then what sound or noise do you dislike then?
sound or noise that I dislike? I don't like markers that sound of markers on papers that like that dragging
Yeah.
sound that when someone writes on just regular paper with a marker. It's always gotten me. I can't hear it. It just I probably shouldn't be revealing my vulnerabilities. I have a lot of enemies.
then what is your favorite curse word? We know that we know that your favorite word is the F word, but then do you have a favorite curse word which isn't the F?
Motherfucker. I don't use that very often. I don't call people that very often, but when I do, boy, it's coming from somewhere deep down.
And then what profession would you love to do? So if you weren't doing the great journalism, the radio shows, and the brilliant activism you do, what profession would you love to do then?
Profession. Man, I'd love to been. I wish I could rap. I'd be like a old school conscious rapper.
Old school conscious rapper, yeah.
Not even old school conscious rapper. I want to go way back when rappers was wearing like leather pants and sequence tank tops, sequence halter tops, and headbands, Korean flag headbands, bonsai headbands, and spike bracelets. I mean, like a 1984 rapper, 85 rapper.
Like BDP or Public Enemy
Even
or
before them, Busy Bee.
oh well,
I
what
think
do
with
you say?
my
Well,
current talent, my current level of talent,
and then
you know,
and what
just when rappers were dressed like disco stars. If I could be a rapper, if I could rap,
all right. Then what profession would you absolutely not want to do under any circumstance?
fucking cop or soldier, law enforcement or military. I don't want no parts of none of that.
Likewise. And final question. I can't. Oh well. Yeah. This is going to be an interesting response. The final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say as you arrive at the pearly gates, or whatever is your vision of afterlife? And even if you're an atheist, feel free to respond.
What would I want to hear God say?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize for being such a piece of shit. Like the worst God ever. But if I had to pick an afterlife, I definitely want that Mormon afterlife. I want my own planet. I think the Mormons have the flyest afterlife.
One of one of my
Muslims
best
have
friends.
the worst. Huh?
I know. I was just gonna say that actually, one of my best friends is a Mormon, and a friend of mine who was, and then another friend of mine who was actually even considering, convert, wanted to know more about, the Church of Latter-day Saints,
Latter-day Saint.
and thought that was quite interesting. So
Well, I think no, not even worse. Worse than the Muslim afterlife. The goddamn Hindu Buddhist, that reincarnation shit. I'd be mad as hell. It's the reward I get for life. It's the return. God damn it. Reincarnation is dumb as hell. But I guess any type of eternal existence is weird as hell to desire in eternal life. It's some real punk ass coward shit. But I digress. What'd you say? If there was a God, I would expect an apology.
an apology,
Yeah.
so you would want that God, or who knows? It could be even numerous gods. So you would want like the apology, like sorry.
Just give me the God, the manager of gods. I'd be a Karen in the afterlife. I want to speak to the manager of gods. The supervisor God. I can't be listening to all them gods. That's way too many.
Well, I would imagine.
Well, I just talked to the God who was the chief, who was in charge during slavery and colonization. But I would expect an apology.
I imagine if the gods, or many gods, were these, were the social justice anti-imperialist types that the liberation theologists say, I'm sure if they would mention, they would say, Diallo, thank you for all the good work you. Thank
I'd
you
be
for all the
like,
good work
man,
you've
but
done
stop,
for us.
boy. You could have given me like fucking laser eyes, or fucking, you could have given me some Samson powers, long hair. You know, I wouldn't accept that. Don't thank me for shit. You God, God damn it. You know, couldn't even give me a nice car or something, man. I don't even have an updated Xbox. I got the old fucking version. Like, you could have gave me something, and don't thank me after I'm dead. And I want my shit right now. I want material.
Well, you know, you'll get that in heaven, Diallo.
I don't want that. Now it's heaven. Now I want to fly to the edges of the universe. You think I'm gonna be playing Xbox and eating tofu? No, man. I don't want to be a vegan no more. Give me a steak. It's divine. You can just manifest it. You don't have to be cruel to animals. No, you gonna try to give me earthly pressures in the afterlife? That's whack as hell. You know, milk and honey, that shit is gross. And then you want streets paved with gold? Fuck my knees up? No, I don't want none of that shit.
I'm actually smiling and laughing so much that actually the back of my head hurts. So
I'm sorry. I've thought a lot about this stuff. I got it all worked out. So whether it's oblivion or an afterlife, I know exactly what to do.
Well, on that note, we were joined on this edition. On that note, we were joined on this edition of 1+1 with Diallo Kenyatta, a longtime racial social justice activist, the co-host of Earn Your Liberation on Black Power Media, and the rational bros, right?
The rational radicals.
Yes, the rational radicals, and of course, and the Bro Diallo Show in Chicago. I'll make sure that I'll make sure to link to all of that stuff so people can check out your work. And Mr. Kenyatta, thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to having you back on. I hope that this will be the first of many conversations, and until then,
I look forward to it.
Keep up
Sorry
the
about the technical difficulties.
Thank you.
All right.